An Alice Alphabet by Carolyn Wells. Read by Daniel Gander. This is a LibriVox recording.
An Alice Alphabet by Carolyn Wells. From Jingle Rhymes. Read by Daniel Gander. An Alice Alphabet. A is for Alice, addressing the Queen. B is for Bulrose, Mimpsy and Lean. C is the Cheshire Cat, wearing a grin. D is the Duchess, who had a sharp chin. E is the Eaglet, who barred out long words. F the Flamingo, the queerest of birds. G is the Griffin, loquacious and gay. H, Humpty Dumpty, in gorgeous array. I is for insects with curious name. J is the Jabbawok, burrowing with flames. K is the King, who was whizzed through the air. L is the Lobster, who sugared his hair. M the Mock Turtle, whose tears freely flowed. N is for Nobody, seen on the road. O is for Oysters, who trotted so quick. P is the Puppy, who played with a stick. Q is the Queen, who ran very fast. R is the Rabbit, who blew a great blast. S is the Sheep, on her knitting intent. T Tweedledum, with his noisy lament. U is the Unicorn, valiant in feud. V is the Violet, saucy and rude. W the Walrus, addicted to chat. X Executioner, seeking the cat. Y is the youth Father William surveyed. Z is a zigzag, the mouse's tail made.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Annabel Lee by Edgar Allan Poe. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden lived whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child, and she was a child in this kingdom by the sea, but we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabel Lee, with a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that long ago in this kingdom by the sea a wind blew out of a cloud by night, chilling my Annabel Lee, so that her high-born kinsman came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels not half so happy in heaven when envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of the cloud, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we. And neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea, can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee, and the stars never rise but I see the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And so all the night-tide I lie down by the side of my darling, my life, and my bride, in her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the side of the sea. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Baseball ABC by McLaughlin Brothers. Read for LibriVox.org by Little T. A stands for Arthur, a boy fond of fun, where in baseball he plays, none like him can run. B stands for Ball, for bat, and for base. C stands for Catcher, with mask on his face. D stands for Diamond, drawn flat on the ground. E stands for Edward, who marks out the bound. F stands for Foul, on which Arthur goes out. G stands for Go, how the merry boys shout. H stands for High Ball, knocked up to the sky. I stands for Innings, for which we all try. J stands for Judgment, the base keepers shout. K stands for Call, who so quickly gets out. L stands for Left Field, who catches fly balls. M stands for Muff, who cannot catch at all. N stands for Norman, who knocks the ball high. O stands for Out, when it's caught on the fly. P stands for Picture, a smart boy you see. Q stands for Quick, which this picture must be. R stands for Runner, who runs to each base. S stands for Shortstop, the ball he must chase. T stands for Third Base, looked after by James. U stands for Umpire, who judges these games. V stands for Victor, the best of the nine. W stands for William, who tells us the time. X stands for Score Mark, which errors point out. Y stands for Youth, who's been injured, no doubt. Z stands for Zeno, this boy rather tall, who thinks there's no fun like a game of baseball. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Cremation of Sam McGee by Robert W. Service. Read for LibriVox.org by Paul French. There are strange things done in the midnight sun by the men who moil for gold. The Arctic trails have their secret tales that would make your blood run cold. The northern lights have seen queer sights, but the queerest they ever did see was that night on the marge of Lake Labarge I cremated Sam McGee. Now Sam McGee was from Tennessee, where the cotton blooms and blows. Why he left his home in the south to roam round the pole, God only knows. He was always cold, but the land of gold seemed to hold him like a spell, though he'd often say in his homely way that he would sooner live in hell. On a Christmas day we were mushing our way over the Dawson Trail. Talk of your cold through the Parker's fold, it stabbed like a driven nail. If our eyes we had closed, then the lashes froze till sometimes we couldn't see. It wasn't much fun, but the only one to whimper was Sam McGee. And that very night, as we lay packed tight in our robes beneath the snow, and the dogs were fed and the stars o'erhead were dancing heel and toe, he turned to me and Cap, says he, I'll cash in this trip, I guess. And if I do, I'm asking that you won't refuse my last request. Well, he seemed so low, I couldn't say no. Then he says with a sort of moan, it's the cursed cold, and it's got right hold, till I'm chilled clean through to the bone. Yet 'tain't being dead, it's my awful dread of the icy grave that pains. So I want you to swear that foul or fair, you'll cremate my last remains. A pal's last need is a thing to heed, so I swore I would not fail. And we started on at the streak of dawn, but God, he looked ghastly pale. He crouched on the sleigh, and he raved all day of his home in Tennessee, and before nightfall a corpse was all that was left of Sam McGee. There wasn't a breath in that land of death, and I hurried horror-driven, with a corpse half hid that I couldn't get rid because of a promise given. It was lashed to the sleigh, and it seemed to say, you may tax your brawn and brains, but you promised true, and it's up to you to cremate those last remains. Now a promise made is a debt unpaid, and the trail has its own stern code. In the days to come, though my lips were dumb, in my heart how I cursed that load. In the long, long night, by the lone firelight, while the huskies round in a ring howled out their woes to the homeless snows, oh God, how I loathed that thing! And every day that quiet clay seemed to heavy and heavier grow, and on I went, though the dogs were spent, and the grub was getting low. The trail was bad, and I felt half mad, but I swore I would not give in, and I'd often sing to the hateful thing, and it hearkened with a grin. Till I came to the marge of Lake Lebarge, and a derelict there lay. It was jammed in the ice, but I saw in a trice it was called the Alice May. And I looked at it, and I thought a bit, and I looked at my frozen chum. Then here, said I, with a sudden cry, is my crematorium. Some planks I tore from the cabin floor, and I lit the boiler fire. Some coal I found that was lying around, and I heaped the fuel higher. The flames just soared, and the furnace roared, such a blaze you seldom see, and I burrowed a hole in the glowing coal, and I stuffed in Sam McGee. Then I made a hike, for I didn't like to hear him sizzle so, and the heavens scowled, and the huskies howled, and the wind began to blow. It was icy cold, but the hot sweat rolled down my cheeks, and I don't know why, and the greasy smoke in an inky cloak went streaking down the sky. I do not know how long in the snow I wrestled with grisly fear, but the stars came out, and they danced about, ere I again ventured near. I was sick with dread, but I bravely said, I'll just take a peep inside. I guess he's cooked, and it's time I looked. Then the door I opened wide. And there sat Sam, looking cool and calm, in the heart of the furnace roar. He wore a smile you could see a mile, and he said, Please close that door. It's fine in here, but I greatly fear you'll let in the cold and storm. Since I left Plum Tree down in Tennessee, it's the first time I've been warm. There are strange things done in the midnight sun by the men who moil for gold. The Arctic trails have their secret tales that would make your blood run cold. The northern lights have seen queer sights, but the queerest they ever did see was that night on the marge of Lake Lebarge I cremated Sam McGee. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Dream by Edna St. Vincent Millay. Read for LibriVox.org by Shakira Searle. Love, if I weep it will not matter, and if you laugh I shall not care. Foolish am I to think about it, but it is good to feel you there. Love, in my sleep I dreamed of waking. White and awful the moonlight reached over the floor, and somewhere, there was a shutter loose. It screeched, swung in the wind, and no wind blowing. I was afraid and turned to you, put out my hand to you for comfort, and you were gone. Cold, cold as dew under my hand the moonlight lay. Love, if you laugh I shall not care, but if I weep it will not matter. Ah, it is good to feel you there. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
El Dorado by Edgar Allan Poe. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. Gaily bedight, a gallant knight, in sunshine and in shadow, had journeyed long, singing a song, in search of El Dorado. But he grew old, this knight so bold, and o'er his heart a shadow fell, as he found no spot of ground that looked like El Dorado. And as his strength failed him at length, he met a pilgrim's shadow. Shadow, said he, where can it be, this land of El Dorado? Over the mountains of the moon, down the valley of the shadow, ride, boldly ride, the shade replied, if you seek for El Dorado. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sonnet 4 from 8 Sonnets. Here is a Wound That Never Will Heal, by Edna St. Vincent Millay. Read for LibriVox.org by Shakira Searle. Here is a wound that never will heal, I know, being wrought not of a dearness and a death, but of a love turned ashes, and the breath gone out of beauty. Never again will grow the grass on that scarred acre, though I sow young seed there yearly, and the sky bequeath its friendly weathers down. Far underneath shall be such bitterness of an old woe, that April should be shattered by a gust, that August should be levelled by a rain I can endure, and that the lifted dust of man should settle to the earth again. But that a dream can die will be a thrust between my ribs forever of hot pain. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The One Hope by Dante Gabriel Rossetti. Read for LibriVox.org by Casper Nijssen. When all desire at last and all regret go hand in hand to death, and all is vain, what shall assuage the unforgotten pain, and teach the unforgetful to forget? Shall peace be still a sunk stream long unmet, or may the soul at once in a green plain stoop through the spray of some sweet life fountain, and cull the dew-drenched flowering amulet? Ah, when the one soul in that golden air, between the scriptured petals softly blown, peers breathless for the gift of grace unknown, ah, let none other written spell soever, but only the one hope's one name be there, not less nor more, but even that word alone. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. "Only this, and nothing more." Ah, distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow. Vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels named Lenore, nameless here for evermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore, but the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there, wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore." This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'tis the wind and nothing more. Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat and nothing more. Then this ebony bird, beguiling my sad fancy into smiling by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore, "Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou," I said, "art sure no craven, ghastly, grim, and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." Much I marvelled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore, for we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing further than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, "Other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before." Then the bird said, "Nevermore." Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, "Doubtless," said I, "what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore of nevermore." But the raven, still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking "Nevermore." This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl, whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining, with the lamplight gloating o'er, she shall press, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer swung by seraphim, whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. "Wretch," I cried, "thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite, and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." "Prophet," said I, "thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate, yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." "Prophet," said I, "thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aidenn it shall clasp a sainted maiden whom the angels named Lenore, clasp a rare and radiant maiden whom the angels named Lenore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." "Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend," I shrieked, upstarting, "get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken, quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door, and his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor, and my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Scholars by William Butler Yeats. Read for LibriVox.org. The Scholars. Bald heads forgetful of their sins, old, learned, respectable bald heads edit and annotate the lines that young men, tossing on their beds, rheumed out in love's despair to flatter beauty's ignorant ear. All shuffle there, all cough in ink, all wear the carpet with their shoes, all think what other people think, all know the man their neighbor knows. Lord, what would they say, did their Catullus walk that way? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Spring by Edna St. Vincent Millay. Read for LibriVox.org by Shakira Searle. To what purpose, April, do you return again? Beauty is not enough. You can no longer quiet me with the redness of little leaves opening stickily. I know what I know. The sun is hot on my neck as I observe the spikes of the crocus. The smell of the earth is good. It is apparent that there is no death. But what does that signify? Not only underground are the brains of men eaten by maggots, life in itself is nothing, an empty cup, a flight of uncarpeted stairs. It is not enough that yearly down this hill, April comes like an idiot, babbling and strewing flowers. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Under the Harvest Moon by Carl Sandburg. Read for LibriVox.org by Faith Pack. Under the harvest moon, when the soft silver drips shimmering over the garden nights, Death, the gray mocker, comes and whispers to you as a beautiful friend who remembers. Under the summer roses, when the flagrant crimson lurks in the dusk of the wild red leaves, Love, with little hands, comes and touches you with 1,000 memories and asks you beautiful unanswerable questions. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Waltzing Matilda by Andrew Bunn Banjo Pearson. Read for LibriVox.org by Glenn O'Brien. www.glennobrien.net. Oh, there once was a Simon camped in the billabong, under the shade of a coolabah tree, and he sang as he looked at his Salisbury boiling, "Who'll come a waltzing Matilda with me? Who'll come a waltzing Matilda, my darling? Who'll come a waltzing Matilda with me? Waltzing Matilda and reading a water bag? Who'll come a waltzing Matilda with me?" Down came a chumbuck to drink at the water hole, up jumped the Simon and grabbed him with glee, and he sang as he stowed them away in his tucker bag, "You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. Who'll come a waltzing Matilda, my darling? Who'll come a waltzing Matilda with me? Waltzing Matilda and reading a water bag? Who'll come a waltzing Matilda with me?" Down came a squatter a-riding his thoroughbred. Down came policemen, 1, 2, and 3. "Who's this a chumbuck you've got in your tucker bag? You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. Who'll come a waltzing Matilda, my darling? Who'll come a waltzing Matilda with me? Waltzing Matilda and reading a water bag? Who'll come a waltzing Matilda with me?" But the Simon he up and he jumped in the water hole, trailing himself by the coolabah tree, and his ghost may be heard as he sings in the billabong, "Who'll come a waltzing Matilda with me? Who'll come a waltzing Matilda, my darling? Who'll come a waltzing Matilda with me? Waltzing Matilda and reading a water bag? Who'll come a waltzing Matilda with me? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.